What's up, everybody? Good to see everybody here in the hizzy. Let's freaking go. Today we're gonna have a fun one. Doing something that I haven't done in a while, and it's been a minute since I have kind of reacted to people's comments on a video. So we're gonna do that a little bit later with people's comments on my last video on my premiere on Pokemon Kansu. That's going to be really fun. I have not done that in a while. So that's going to be kind of the main chunk, talking about Palworld, Pokemon, people flipping out, people reacting to my video, people being internet, let's say a little bit of the internetism. Going to talk about that. Also going to give a little bit of an update on the case in Florida, the Disney versus the CFTOD case in state court. I'm going to give a quick update on that first. That will come before we get into the issues with Nintendo and Palworld. And also going to go through a little bit of, it's not funny, but this text message I got today from BLM. Yes, not the base legal mindset, not the membership that all of you should have. So you guys can join our amazingly based membership network and our members only streams. You should be a member. But I'm talking about the actual BLM. They messaged me today, so I have to shame them. Big shout out to the 199, all the folks from G&G and Jeremy's folks. I do really appreciate the strong shout out from Jeremy. And also I know that I think Jay shouted me out as well today. People were showing my tweet. I believe the tweet they were all passing around, which wasn't the better of the two tweets, but they kept quoting it, was the one that I put out first, which I guess they just saw it first, so they were reacting to it. But the one that they kept reacting to was this one, which is not even a legal post, which is ironic. This was just me making a statement. This is the post that they kept reacting to, Geeks and Gamers and those folks. They kept reacting to this one where I said, number one, this is regardless of the legal analysis. So this has nothing to do with my legal opinion. This is 100% my personal opinion. Number one, Palworld is wildly popular and the popularity seems merited. Two, achieving these numbers on a budget on 1/20th of an AA game and Fraction Staff merits game of the year, if only for these factors alone. I kind of take this one back. Actually, I give a shout out to Lofty. Lofty actually convinced me of this one. I know. Lofty's bad takes. He actually had a decent take, which is, look, if a game is good, it's good, and game of the year should be based on the best game, not based on the budget. I could argue that maybe there should be a game of the year for small budget and a game of the year for big budget. So, a small cap and a large cap game of the year, maybe, right? And we actually do have to see how long this thing lasts. This may be a fad. This may be a game that doesn't make it more than a month, in which case it won't get game of the year. But what I wanted to say here and what I was really going to is it's impressive. Okay. The numbers this game is putting up are impressive. So you cannot deny that. So maybe it won't be game of the year. Maybe I'm going to ramp back this statement. Maybe number two comes down. But number three is the one that's very true. And I do not caveat this one or take it back or anything else. Palworld's success is highly likely to influence Pokemon to improve. I absolutely agree with this. And this is the sentiment that I have behind most of what I'm going to be talking about today. I know some Pokemon stands are going to be mad. I know some Palworld stands are going to be mad at me. But that said, I think it's going to be ultimately in the long run good for Pokemon because they're going to see what works. They're going to see what works. So that's the tweet that everybody was quoting from me, even though it's not my best one. That's kind of my weakest one. Weird for us, Aussie5. It said, I would like to see you investigate Games Workshop with Valiant and Iron Man. Those board members and that deal with Amazon. Game Workshop is trying to break into Japan. They're already in Japan. Technically, every time I go to Japan, I always stop by Akihabara. You got to get your maid cafe in, guys. You got to get your maid cafe. So there is a big Game Workshop store in Akihabara. It is prime placement right there by the maid cafes. And yeah, it's all up in there. and it's still mostly dudes in that. No matter how, no matter what they will say or do or wokeness, it's going to be mostly dudes in the Games Workshop, store. But people are buying stuff. It is a busy store. That gets a lot of foot traffic. So yeah, but I will absolutely look, to the extent that there's any issues, there's investigations, other stuff. I'm happy to look into stuff. I'm happy to look into it. I love one hater comment, and I think it may have gotten filtered for using some gamer words, but somebody tried to say somewhere that I don't play games, which is not really true, especially when it comes to Pokemon. I probably played more Pokemon games than most people. I grew up, I'm the generation that grew up on Pokemon. My Christmas present was a Game Boy with Pokemon Red. I was like OG black and white version, like the original, the OG Pokemon. I had it. I think I still have it at home, back in Florida. So, I played a lot of Pokemons. I played a lot, especially the old school ones, the classic ones, a lot of them. I played a ton of emulators. In fact, for those that may doubt some street cred here, and we're going to talk about Nintendo striking people, I went out and looked at what ROMs I had and what other things I had kind of, pulled up and available and everything else. And is it pulled up here or is it hiding somewhere? Let's see if I can get this thing pulled up. I still have my emulator, still my Visual Boy Advance. But in addition to that, like above and beyond that, let me pull this over here. Okay, let me silence the audio on this before I get struck by Nintendo. But that said, I still have over here, for those who may remember this, this is one that got struck by Nintendo, but you got Pokemon Uranium over here. Okay, Pokemon Uranium. Anybody remember Pokemon Uranium? Okay, this is like the bad boy of the games, and this is not even an emulator. This is a full-on computer version game. Very naughty, very naughty. Pokemon DMCA Strike, the website that was hosting that, gave them a cease and desist. But yeah, I still got that on my computer. I actually looked at amount of my save file wasn't on this computer. I just translated over. I think the game still had the save file somehow, so I had to start again with the Raptor Pokemon, because that was the best, obviously. But yeah, Uranium. I've got Uranium. I played a lot of emulators. I played a ton of emulators. So I am not just somebody who knows about it. I actually support those fan modifications, and I think it is stupid of them to go after them, because in a sense, when they go after those people, those games help drive interest in Pokemon. People who actually go and download those games end up buying stuff. They ultimately end up buying stuff, or they have bought stuff. Those are your ultra uber fans. So I don't think it's smart of them. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. That's a lesson we're going to come back to today over and over and over and over again. Just because you can do something does not mean you necessarily should do something. So let's start out with Disney. Speaking of people who can do stuff but shouldn't do stuff. So there was an update in the case. There was actually a hearing, kind of significant hearing in a way, on the public records in the Disney versus the CFTOD case. This is the case that I've been covering, that my coverage goes wall to wall on. I'll be covering the entire case, start to finish. So in the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District versus Walt Disney Parks, this is the state case. There was a hearing on the public records. So what happened was Disney was claiming that the CFTOD did not properly turn over public records, that they were not fully disclosing things. So they had a hearing, and in this hearing, you can see that it was Disney's motion. I'm going to pull it up right here. You've got the court minutes from the 9th Judicial Circuit. So this is at 8:45 a.m. on the 23rd in room 19B on the 19th floor. So it was Paul Huck and Michael Nardella. Those are for the CFTOD. And then Stephen Brody and Adam Lucy. Now, Steve Brody is a new ad. So they actually added a new Florida lawyer. They finally got 2 Florida lawyers on this case. They finally hired 2. But the reason why they hired them is because none of their out-of-state lawyers knew shit about public records. And the most screwed up thing about this is they hired the Florida attorneys after they filed the public records case. So they went and filed those public records claims in state court, and then they went out and hired the attorneys to actually litigate that. So I'm not clear like what was going on there, or maybe they already had them on retainer somehow or dealing with another case, but it looked really weird. Also, you had the media there. So this is the defendant's motion to compel discovery. The court rules as follows. The court takes this matter under advisement, order to be issued forthwith. So this is not a ruling. There's no ruling here. The judge has not ruled on this. But yet, what do you think the Disney shill media and the mainstream media, including the local news, which is often controlled by Disney, of course, they go with the Disney headline. So this is the local news. This is WKMG. These are the people that were there. And they, of course, try to take this position that this is a super pro Disney move. So Disney's lawyer says, well, what are you trying to hide? Well, what were they asking for? They were asking for certain records. Disney was asking for irrelevant text messages and other things that were sent after the lawsuit was already filed, and also they're asking for stuff that does not relate to the agreements that were made by Disney at the last minute. Remember, the state case is not about freedom of speech. It's not about all that stuff. It's only about whether or not those contracts and restrictive covenants that Disney filed at the last second are valid. That's the only thing that's about. It's not this broader, wider case. But Disney is trying to expand that case and make it something it's really not. So during the court hearing, Disney asked the judge, and let me zoom in here. Disney asked the Orange County judge for them to turn over certain records as part of the discovery process and answer interrogatories. Requested records include communications about agreements that may have been written or received on CFTOD representatives' personal electronic devices. So any text messages, stuff like that they sent afterwards. So the CFDOD said right here, the district is still working to produce the discovery materials, but insisted they're fulfilling their requirements. Look at this. This is the key thing here. One of the things that's been a little frustrating is that Disney essentially is complaining they think we haven't produced enough documents. We reviewed over 289,000 documents. Look at this, guys. I'm not making this number up. 289,000 documents. That is an insane amount. You know, that is the pinnacle of lawfare. And this is what Disney does. Disney buries you in busy work. They request tens of thousands of documents that need to be reviewed by senior members of staff, by lawyers. It's a huge task. It doesn't happen in 2 days. So obviously Disney wants those documents. So the judge will rule. They'll probably give a ruling on number 1, which documents have to be produced, and number 2, what the timeline should be, because this is a voluminous request. They're not going to sanction them. They're not going to say, oh, you lose the case because you didn't turn this over fast enough. No, that's not how it works. It's not what the judge is going to do. So just saying right there. That's my update on the case. I will obviously keep you guys updated as we go. All right, let's turn over to BLM. Little base legal mindset. I mean, Black Lives Matter. So here's a text message. And yes, you guys can all spam this message. You have my permission. This is a text message I received today this morning, right? This is the text message. There was a little image above this, but I'm skipping the image. I'm just getting to the message. Hey, fam, it's Black Lives Matter Foundation from a new phone number. The latest data shows what we already know. Black people are the demographic most likely to be killed by the police. Mapping Police Violence released their updated database for 2023. They found that Black people are 3 times as likely to be killed compared to white people. 95% of America's major city police departments kill Black people at higher rates than white people. Sorry, hold on. This is great. Most killings by police begin with traffic stops, mental health checks, and nonviolent offenses. Well, yeah. We're going to decrease the amount of state-sanctioned violence, police brutality in 2024. So chip in. They dropped their payment link down there. Let's talk about this real quick. So we're going to talk. I'm going to show you the mapping police violence and the 3 times as likely. So let me skip the 3 times as likely real quick and talk about the major city. What do you think the demographics are in America's quote unquote major cities? Yeah, the demographics of America's major cities, the people in those major cities, who is committing the crimes? Where are the crimes being committed? Who within the cities is committing those crimes? Yeah, that is going to be a certain demographic. It's going to be a certain demographic. Most killings begin with traffic stops. Yes, traffic stops where you find somebody has a warrant out for their arrest, or they have a gun, or some other issue. And not because they have a gun, but right, for example, they might have an illegal, something that they're not supposed to have. Maybe they're a convicted felon, right, in possession of a firearm, right? Whatever. It doesn't say whether or not those shootings, right? It says killings, but are they justified, right? So are they supposed to allow somebody to kill them? Cops are supposed to allow people to kill them because of the color of their skin? So if somebody has dark skin, they should be allowed to kill the cop? Come on. So I went to this data they have here, this mapping police violence. So Black people, first of all, the data has changed. Now it's 2.9%, are more likely to be killed by police than white people in the US. Well, I looked at this methodology. This methodology does not take into account at all who is committing the crimes. It does not talk at all about who's committing the crimes. And it does not talk about whether this is in proportion to the people committing the crimes. Folks, I got news for you. It is. It's in direct proportion. So BLM, once again, with spamming my text messages from across the world. I'm over here in Asia, and I'm still getting dumb BLM text messages like that stating crappy statistics. It is what it is, guys. You can't escape it no matter what. Just can't escape it no matter what. Also, shout out to the people on Rumble. Good to see you guys. That Wrench, Crazy, Warlock, Danielle, who was over there. Nimitz, good to see you guys over there on Rumble. And also even over there on Locals. We got Reb1 and Danielle over there. So shout out to you guys. All right. Let's move on to something wholesome before we get into our main topic. Here's the wholesomeness. This is the Godzilla -1 team when they are celebrating their Oscar nomination. These guys. So that's their entire VFX team, guys. These guys are like an entire VFX team is like in a room there, right? There's not a million of them. There's not 1,000 of them. You don't see a lot of DEI hires there. These guys were on such a small budget. They were on such a small budget. And they're just happy to be nominated. They're just happy to be like on the playing field. Isn't that so nice to see? Like people that are just they're just literally happy to be included, right? Right. That's true inclusivity, right? Of course, the woke left will never acknowledge that, right? There's too many men in that room, but it's very wholesome. It's very wholesome. I do indeed like it. And I'm so glad that those guys, they're happy about it. They feel like they've already won. It doesn't matter whether they win. They've already won. They've already won. Leprechaun Gold for $10 super sticker. Thank you for the Sheba, the good luck. Thank you so much. We're very lucky today. I'm lucky to have 273 people in the house today talking about this. All right, so let's jump into the main topic, guys. But before I do, Is This Live drop 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much, Is This Live? Marvin, Scott, Lily, Kitty, those ain't real, dude. Who else we got here? More people should be coming up in a second. Okay, Positively Houston, Decayed Crow, Carmen Griffin, Daniel B, Freedom Ring, Dog Foster Mother, Fish Food 5, Saigon 7, Vincent Cobb. You guys all Majestic American Work, Woodcock, and the big guys, Crackhead Son, Thomas, Dawn of the Requiem, Liberty Prime 199, Twisted Man, Dark Avenger, Tass. All you guys say thank you to Is This Live for hooking you up and making this a green stream. We are greener. We are greener than burning straight coal. We are greener than burning straight coal right now. We're doing great. All right. So let's get to the main topic, shall we? Now, before we start, I got to start with one of my favorite memes on this, and this was someone that was used by my good friend Josh as a thumbnail, but I do love the just the straight up meme, leave the multi-billion-dollar company alone. So good, such a good meme, so solid. Mwah, mwah. Definitely this conversation has brought people out from everywhere. We're going to see that today when we look at my comments. We're going to see that today when we look at some of the reactions to this. It brought some interesting characters out. Let's put it that way. Now, one thing I want to be very clear on is that my analysis and talking about this on my video, which I still stand by, is that Pokemon and the Pokemon Company can sue Palworld, or they could have sued Palworld, right? Because maybe they should have already done it. That's an argument. That's an argument that you could throw out there, that maybe it might be moot at this point because they've let it go. They've known about it, kind of let it go. It's a potential argument that they should have done it or could have done it. They could have done it, right? Theoretically. But just because you could do something doesn't mean you should do it. And it doesn't mean you are likely to do it. But just because under the law you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. There's a lot of times when people can sue and they choose not to do it. Why would you not sue? Well, in many cases, the cost, the PR, the public relations. Maybe because if it goes to trial and they really fight and you lose, it would be a black eye. And maybe you think your odds are good, but there's a 40% chance of you losing. You don't take that chance. You don't take that chance even with a 10% chance in a lot of cases. You want a shoe in, particularly if you'd get a black eye. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking on this, and this is something that does confuse some people. So the Pokemon Company is the company that is generally responsible for the brand management, publishing, licensing of Pokemon, which is a joint venture, right? A joint investment of Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures, right? So there's a collaborative effort for Pokemon in the Pokemon Company. So a lot of people get confused about the ownership, and also understand, which makes it more complicated, is in many places, the entity that registered the trademark is Nintendo, because in many countries, other than the US, other than Japan, right? Game Freak and Creatures don't have a subsidiary there, but Nintendo does. So Nintendo took it upon themselves, or rather, they've internally decided Nintendo is the entity that's going to claim the trademark there, and they're going to protect that right on behalf of the other constituent members. I'm sure they have appropriate agreements that delegate these duties out. Of course, I don't have all these agreements. I don't have access to them. So obviously, there are places in which you might see the Pokemon Company involved, and there's places where you might see just Nintendo. So just understand that. Rabid One said 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much, Rabid One. Appreciate you. And guys, make sure you say thank you to Rabid One, Chris Banks, Salty Buddha, Mike Marco, and Michael Mealy, and EMD. Say thank you to Rabid J, or Rabid One. Rabid J, Rabid One. Thank you guys, and appreciate you guys making this a green stream. So one thing I've been telling people, and this is a big analysis, and I know some other people have analyzed this. Now, I have not seen Hoag's video, so I know some people asked about that. Just FYI, I had some people summarize it to me, but frankly, I don't really. With most videos I've seen, the one thing they definitely don't consider as much is the difference between the law in America and the law in Japan. And I am not a Japanese lawyer. I don't claim to be. However, people are using a lot of the cases and analysis that does not apply in Japan, or there may not be a similar provision in Japan, because these are all Japanese companies. So if there was going to be a lawsuit, the appropriate venue would be Japan. It wouldn't be the United States. It wouldn't be anywhere else. It is Japan. That's the corporate nexus. In fact, the Pokemon Company is located 15 minutes on the metro from Pocket Pair. They're in Nihonbashi, right? Which is quite close to Shinagawa. So they're very, very close by. These companies are both in Tokyo. And like I said, we don't know what backroom deal went down in the smoky karaoke bar, or maybe the hostess bar, over a bunch of Suntory whiskey, maybe a couple bottles of Yamazaki, right? Solves a lot of things. We don't know. And they may have already had this conversation. And it would be a very Japanese thing to do, to handle this in quiet and not lose anybody's face. Because there is a fundamental difference between DMCA striking some American modder, some foreign modder, and Japanese corporations suing another Japanese corporation in Japan. There's a huge difference. And that's a material difference that from a business standpoint matters. Anybody who doesn't analyze that doesn't understand business, doesn't understand business law. Anytime you're suing a company or a corporation in the same country, there's a much bigger effect because there's potential precedent that would be binding upon that country. Huge. And of course, this law operates differently. Now, if any of you are curious, if you want to ever take a look, there is the Copyright Research and Information Center, which is the copyright law of Japan. This is translated to English. Now, this is not a perfect translation. In fact, you can even find some spelling errors here, some minor spelling errors, right? But even reading the English language, if you read through this, and you guys can check that out, cric.or.jp, you can see even in the English version, which does not include any case precedent, any cases, there are big differences between Japanese copyright law and American copyright law. One huge thing is, we're going to go down to a section here. Where is it? Here we go. Subsection 2. Check this out, guys. Moral rights of authors. Moral rights of authors. There are several articles which talk about moral rights of authors. There are no such moral rights in America. This doesn't even exist. This concept is foreign. So an American attorney, or even somebody who's using American law, because most of the YouTubers that have been talking about this, first of all, number one, they're not even lawyers, but number two, they certainly don't understand this. They've all cited to American cases, but well, what about these rights? These rights could be potentially violated, right? These go above and beyond what we have in the United States. So it makes it easier to bring claims in Japan. The barrier to entry is lower. Now, just to give a brief overview before I go into, some of the comments and some of the other stuff here. Nintendo, they've done some stuff. All right, they've done some stuff. So I don't know if you guys ever looked. This is an article from last year. But those who don't know, Nintendo has a very long and complicated legal history. where they have sued a lot of people, right? A lot of people, right? They sued over Donkey Kong. They claimed that Donkey Kong was a blatant ripoff of the incredibly successful King Kong series, right? So Universal took Nintendo to court and demanded they give all profits for Donkey Kong Universal and shut down all Donkey Kong arcade cabinets within 48 hours. But Nintendo refused. They had done their research and believed they could prove their copyright claims wrong. Universal won by proving the King Kong license had expired and therefore was in the public domain. Putting Universal's own words against them, Nintendo won the case and retained the rights to Donkey Kong. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, there was a previous case that Universal won with RKO, right? A previous case. So they actually used that case against them. Nintendo used that against them. And they got to go forward with Donkey Kong. Also had some issues with video rentals, right? So that was a contest they had there. They saw it as a form of piracy. So they tried to help shut down rental services in Japan. They tried to sue Blockbuster, but Blockbuster won, right? Pretty big case right there. Now, this is the biggest one here, and I think people don't understand this. Nintendo has been a bunch of Yahtzees on YouTube. And this is hilarious because we're actually going to look at an article where we're going to talk about the mod that got pulled down today, the Pokemon mod. But literally, that article, which came out a day ago, has a video linked that was struck by Nintendo. I'm not kidding. There's a video linked in this article that was written a day ago that's struck by Nintendo. Nintendo is on it, especially on YouTube. Now, there's not a huge barrier to entry for DMCAing people on YouTube. People do it all the time. They do it willy-nilly. And Nintendo is notorious for not giving a shit about your fair use arguments. Even if something would be fair use, they don't care. They still claim it anyways. They're the honey badger of copyright striking. So they've done that for tons of folks. And they will also send DMCAs to anybody who puts out something like a ROM, something like an emulator. We saw that with talking about Pokemon Uranium, the game I pulled up. Right? They're going to be a-holes about it. Like, that's very for sure. That's very certain. That's very certain. So not giving them a pass. A lot of people may think, oh, Andrew, you're simping for, because you say they have a case, you're simping for Nintendo. No, I'm not. This is not cool. I do not like copyright cuckery, and Nintendo engaged in a lot of it, and I don't support that. But just because I don't agree with this doesn't mean I'm going to misstate the law or not present a legal argument just to make people feel better. That's what a bunch of woke leftists do. They tell you lies to make you feel better. I'm not going to do that on this channel. A lot of people want to try to make me do it, other creators do it. I don't do that shit. You want somebody else who's going to bend based on the fans' opinions? Is definitely not here. Right. Okay, next. Joy Drift lawsuits. So a series of lawsuits was submitted against Nintendo for this, for the Joy Drift having issues, right? Having surprise defects. Specifically, someone named Luz Sanchez and her 10-year-old son, whose Joy Drift ended up being so severe that within months, the controllers, including replacement controllers, no longer worked. So they dealt with arbitration there without dealing with any court or settlement. So that's all held through arbitration. So we will have no idea about that settlement ever, but it was an issue for Nintendo. So they've had a lot of issues, a lot of like a long legal history, doing a lot of lawsuits. So they're no stranger to court. Also, no strangers, Leprechaun Gold dropping 10 Legal Mindset members. Thank you, Leprechaun Gold. And say thank you to Leprechaun Gold, John Good, Carl Anderson, Waffle Ganger, Truckin' Bear, Ricky Raguso, Ricky Bobby, Smurf Shark 16, Greg McNeely, Jesus Davila, and Halesburg. Welcome and say thank you to Leprechaun Gold. All righty. Before we get into the comments here, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the base developers at Palworld before I get into the comments, before I get people standing for Nintendo or for Pokemon, for whatever else. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about these guys. So let's talk about what's going on with the base developers. So apparently, this is from the developers of Palworld. And this is one of their comments here. I don't know if you guys have seen this, probably seen it on Twitter. But the decision to make it Pokemon with guns. So this is the developer saying that apparently. Was because they were worried the game would not be a global success unless they added to it because Americans like to shoot things. That's very interesting. But also hilarious. Americans like to shoot things. I mean, not wrong. Also, I like this one. The gender neutral type A character creator was likewise because Americans sometimes want to make very ugly characters. This part, the second one I like, is super based. So woke Americans like to make ugly characters. So you get to pick type A and type B. You can make an ugly character. You can make your ugly character if you want. Super ultra giga chat based. By the way, this isn't even based in Japan. This is like how normal Japanese people think, right? They're just like, yeah, it's weird. Like you guys sometimes want to do that. And we think it's weird. Like it's very funny. Very funny. So it's from apparently from the Palworld senior developer. Hilarious. And I give a lot of credit for that one to those guys. Change of the ways for $2 says, I absolutely appreciate dedication. Truth. Thank you. Never gonna stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. I'm just gonna tell it the way I see it. Sometimes you guys will disagree, and you're always free to drop a disagreement, drop a counter argument in the comments. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm gonna stay on it as I see it. Thank you, Bella Stella, for 20 Legal Mindset memberships coming through big with the 20. And guys, say thank you to Bella, Eric V, Robert Grube, Eric Straffen, Captain Zap Brannigan, Jake Arbogast, Baby Duck, Ben Condal, Kelly R, Mad Hats, Christian Kaput, Megan Holligan, Sandra 44, Jasmine, Polska Trucker, Dzień dobry, Polska. I got a lot of Polish people reaching out to me. Shout out to my homies in Poland. C. Stajarna, Liz Royal, Uralite, Brijana Marshall, and Grand Wizard Noticer. Okay, interesting name there. Interesting name. But yeah, welcome guys. And thank you to Bella for hooking you up. One of my OGs, one of the people who's been around for a while. I appreciate you, girl. Hope all is well over there in the UAE, in the Emirates. All right. So guys, you ready? I have not done this in a while. And I'm a little nervous because, I don't want anybody, and before I do any of this, I don't want anybody getting in here and going after people, no dogging anybody. But I wanted to read through some of the comments. We won't get through everything, but just some of the comments here in the comment section to my last video, because there's a lot of strong responses and also a lot of people that are focusing on what I think may be the wrong. Yeah, but like show you guys what I think about this, what's going on, and what's happening with Pokemon. I think I had a little bit of lag there. Must have been something loading. I'm not sure. Let me see if there's something else there that's open. But before I get to that, I do have to talk about this before I get to the comments. Right here, we had this one. Okay. Before we get to the comments, got to touch this. Palworld Pokemon mod creator delays release after DMCA takedown. So this is the one where he says Nintendo has come for me. So they struck this mod. So this is the newest news. It's also the news that goes along with the thumbnail. So there was a mod. This is a literal Palworld mod. Look at what they had here. This guy had spot on Pokemon models ready to go. and ready to drop in. They were actually going to drop this thing like in a day or two. They were going to drop it like very soon. This is just like spot on 100%. Let's got the girl all misty looking over here. So, well, that's actually not that. That's the regular game. But anyways, here's the mod with Ash Ketchum and the bow. Pikachu, you see Pikachu down here. So definitely this is a violation because that's one-on-one. That's one-on-one. Now, did they sue them? No, they just DMCA'd them. A DMCA takedown just says, get this off the internet. That's all it does. So is somebody probably going to create the mod? Yes, right? Someone probably will end up making the mod, but they have to keep it quiet. They have to get it done. They have to keep it on the, the forums and not put it on Twitter. Where this guy went wrong, this developer, this modder, they put it on Twitter. They put it on Twitter. And that's where they got the hammer dropped on them. Like if you're gonna do a mod, don't start bragging it about on Twitter like this. That was kind of a low IQ move. So they straight up said they were going to change everything into Pokemon. That's a clear violation. So here there was a video of the mod, but look at this. The video contains content from Nintendo who's blocked it on copyright grounds. Isn't that funny? So this article, at the time it was written, 18 hours ago when this was written, this video was working. This video is no longer working because it's been struck by Nintendo. So they've already claimed any video that showed the mod. They've already gotten all those videos struck. This is how hard Nintendo goes in the paint. This is how hard they go. So, all right. That's the news on the mod. All right, let's get to the comments. Let's jump right in here. Without further ado, let's respond to some of these comments, shall we? So this is obviously on my video, which is Pokemon can sue Palworld and win. There are an inordinate amount of comments. This one was getting ridiculous amount of comments. So the ratio of comments to views is very high. So I thought it's worthwhile to read some of them and react to them live. So Stuart Nelson said, I think this is about Pokemon getting paid. If they have a strong enough suit, they would have tried to stop the game from getting released. Instead, they waited until the game was a success. To me, it's reminiscent of a famous Texas copyright court where tech companies almost always settled to make them go away. And I think I said this once and I'll say it again. That we don't know if they already made a deal. They may have already had a deal on this. In fact, they may have already agreed with Pocket Pair that they're just going to let this go. They may have already said, you know what? We think this is actually going to be good for us, or we think this is going to pump interest in Pokemon, or hey, when we make our Pokemon open world, you guys won't have a claim against us because we held off against you, right? There's ways in which there may have been a deal struck here. We don't know. Now, it doesn't necessarily make it moot just because they haven't filed suit yet. So yes, they likely should have filed if they were going to file before it was released. However, that doesn't stop them from filing. They certainly could file. And there's not a statute of limitations that's run on this at all. With Pokemon's history, I would assume they would have struck them already. This game was announced 3 years ago, and Microsoft helped fund it. I doubt the Nintendo ninjas would have missed for long. Now, I don't know about the Microsoft funding. I do not know about that and whether that's true or not. I really don't. But that said, it doesn't preclude them from suing. And of course, you don't know how violative it is and how much it violates your potential trademark or copyright until it's released and until you see the final product. You might see that there's pals that look really similar during the full game that were not available before it was released. Like, for example, the Lucario looking pal. They may not have seen that one yet. They may not have known that Lucario looking pal exists. So Just because they didn't sue before when it was announced does not mean that they cannot sue. All right, here we go. Game Freak and Nintendo might sue because it makes them look very bad. That is, the bootleg Pokemon with guns is getting more attention and praise than the official Pokemon. So this is one of the causes of action, which actually in Japan is very viable. It's very viable because if you're attacking the integrity of the game, that is a potential cause of action. And all I said in my video was that they can sue, that they'll pass a motion to dismiss. That does not mean they would win at trial. There's a big difference, and people don't understand this. A motion to dismiss just analyzes, is there a cognizable claim? Meaning, is there a dispute of the facts? Do you have to go and get a jury or do a close examination of, okay, does this really look similar? Does it pass the squint test? If you squinted and you looked at both images, right? You looked at them side by side. And I'm going to try to see if I can find one right here. Let's see. Like if you squinted and you look at these, right? And I'm just going to bring up Grizzbolt for a second, right? Because it was easy to find here. Let me just show you that. If you squint, just do that squint, and you look at both of these, right? You're looking over at these. You're like, when you look, do they look similar? Might be a factual issue they have to dispute. Now, Pocket Pair could very well win at trial. But most of the cases don't go to trial. They settle. That's my point. So is it possible for that to get into court? Absolutely. Further, we had here, as a resident practitioner of North American bird law, this is outside my expertise. I am a big supporter of bird law, by the way. Profit Paradise says, I agree. They definitely can sue, but they shouldn't. It would show that this is a stale franchise that refuses to innovate, can't compete, and only resort to legal action. Not only that, but the backlash would be immense. I agree. See, guys, this is the thing. Just because you can sue doesn't mean you should sue. And this is the statement I want to get behind 100%. Just because you can sue for something does not mean you should. This is the key. Completely agree with that. Muddragon says Nintendo is an absolute boogeyman when it comes to their property. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they sue the developers of Palworld, though they've already copyright struck videos of the mod, so it's highly visible. Unfortunately, it's only a matter of time before papers are served. I think it's very possible, but they may have worked out a deal. Let's see here. A game marketed as Pokemon with guns. This never happened. People that saw the early game called it Pokemon with guns. The devs never called it or marketed it as Pokemon with guns. Yes, that's correct. The devs never did it, but the fact that everybody calls it that shows brand confusion. The fact that everybody is calling it Pokemon with guns, that lay people are calling it Pokemon with guns, shows that the brands can be easily confused. It actually is a factor that would lean towards that, which is an issue for trademark. And most Pokemon are trademarked. Mr. Norker said, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to court. A suit is too much of a risk for both companies, so they'll hash it out in the back rooms. Maybe they already have. I agree, by the way, with Mr. Norker. They may have already done that. Oh, Puss. Yes, the Puss. Says, if these cultural juggernauts, i.e. Nintendo, Disney, are becoming too litigious, they risk creating a more robust parallel economy that might in the long run only damage their relevance. I agree. This is why you shouldn't sue, even if you can sue, because you're going to create an enemy that cannot be defeated. That's the problem. It's like, for example, overusing antibiotics. When you overuse antibiotics, you create antibiotic-resistant bacteria. This is a problem. You don't want to do that, because if your solution is to sue, people are going to think, how do we get around that? How do we break that? Can I just like Can I just start this company in Kazakhstan and tell them to fuck off? Because frankly, that is a solution. There are countries that are not going to care when America or even Japan comes knocking about copyright. Now, the platforms that are American companies may take them down. For example, Steam, right? If a game is made in Kazakhstan and it's put on Steam, yes, Steam may take it down. But if you have a way to host it and distribute it independent of the US company, that's a thing. You're going to create that if you become too litigious. P-Brain says there's so many Pokemon in games. If they choose to sue Palworld, they would bypass many sold ROM hacks, fan sites, and various games that use other mechanics. Here's another fallacy. Okay. So this is a big fallacy. Just because you don't enforce your copyright against everybody you potentially could enforce it against, just because you don't sue everyone doesn't mean you can't sue anyone. This is the same argument with everybody who's screaming about Digimon or Monster Rancher, Monster Hunter. Actually, I see somebody on Warlock, Crazy Warlock on Rumble talking about Digimon, right? This is the Digimon argument. Just because they didn't sue Digimon does not mean they lose the right to sue somebody else. That's not how it works. You don't have to sue everybody because you sue one person. It doesn't matter. Also, there's a debate about the timing of Digimon. I see people in the chat saying Digimon came first. I think there's a lot of valid reasons why they wouldn't sue Digimon. Also, Digimon ultimately, I think, is very distinct. And they've got a breadth of they've got like kind of a wide breadth of history Digimon that's made them distinct at this point. So I think that going back to sue Digimon would be a little silly at this point. Here we go. It's worth remembering that both Nintendo and Pocket Pair are Japanese companies, remembering the more permissive Japanese IP laws are in effect, not the US or international ones. Correct. This is something most people are forgetting. Most people are forgetting completely. Also, real quick, let me get these super chats. Henry K said it should be mentioned as well. Yes, Nintendo or Game Freak on the models, and the name of the characters, they don't own the right to the source of the characters, like the nine-tailed fox. Yes, sometimes they only own a model, but not the name. That's very true. And it's inconsistent in different countries. Certain countries, there are Pokemon that have not been copyrighted or trademarked. Just realize that different countries have different rules. Change of the Way says real Pokemon nude mods blood effects is a recipe to make Nintendo more likely to take the game down altogether. You got to understand, once again, that goes to once they have these moral rights in Japan, but also if you are damaging their brand, right? You're leading people to believe that Pokemon put out something with nudity. Yeah, they're going to come after you. They don't want, it's a children's game. Let's not forget the primary market for Pokemon is a children's game. Now, I know a lot of adults now play Pokemon. I will still play the emulators every now and again for nostalgia because it's what I grew up with. It's like eating soul food, right? Going back to something nostalgic, right? Watching something you watched as a kid, right? Very nostalgic, like going back and watching Dragon Ball Z or the old animated Hobbit. You know, my mom recorded that and it's still classic. I remember we watched that together like probably 20 times at least, the old animated Hobbit. You guys remember that one? It's nostalgic for me. It's like eating s'mores. S'mores weren't really a thing for me, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like your childhood, you know? Let's see. Somebody's saying Digimon didn't come out first. Once again, people in the chat, you can fight this out. It's irrelevant at this point about Digimon. Because with Digimon, with respect to Digimon, they have let it slide for too long. There would be a statute of limitations issue with Digimon. Palworld, there wouldn't be. Because it just dropped. Digimon, there would be. There would be an issue, right? It would be prevented. It'd be prevented based on the amount of time that's lapsed. because it's been what, 3 decades now? Almost 2 decades? Like almost 3 decades. In like 3 years, it's been 3 decades. It's been a hell of a long time. So yeah, Digimon's been out there. Also, they're very different, and they've proven they're very different. Bully Mpic Shiro says the model rips are a slam dunk in my opinion. Many digital artists attest it is nearly impossible to have wireframe meshes with the similarity that Palworld exhibits in comparison to the Pokemon wireframe meshes. That bit of digital forensics is enough to seal the deal in the case of trademark, in my non-legal opinion. Whether or not it was intentional from the company wide approach is yet to be seen. This is something that will be shown in a trial. This is what makes it a cognizable claim. But it seems like some artists took the message and twisted them enough to just to fool people. I say an artist because Palworld insists nothing was AI generated, so this has to be an intentional act by somebody. If it was a company mandate to steal these meshes, then their better defense would have been that they're AI generated and they pull the game to fix it. But by doubling down, I feel like they might be in for a bit of reckoning. So this is something I was sent, and I was sent something on X. Let me pull this up. Now, I don't know whether this is accurate or not, whether this is something that was like correct or not. Like Marsupial Gamer is saying the guy comparing meshes altered them to match. I don't know about this. I'm not a mesh expert. This is not the mesh court. I'm not the mesh expert witness, Marsupial Gamer. But this is what they showed, right? So they showed this. I don't know if you guys have seen this, right? So these are these meshes, these digital meshes, right? Which they overlaid. And they kind of ran these through to show the similarities between Palworld and Pokemon. And just saying they're like just spot on. So Eric says here, to accidentally create a complex model mesh within so near exact proportions is practically impossible. To repeat that improbability throughout your roster doesn't pass the sniff test. So they had that. They had that guy. They also had another one here. Now this one I don't know about. This one was more sus. This one was more suspect. Let me show you guys this one. This guy right here, the lizard. Let me put this one here. This lizard. Right? I mean, I guess, but they did change it. Also, I think this Pokemon here they're showing is like the Ho Pokemon that actually like there's a Pokemon or a pal. There's a pal that literally the description of the pal is like it enjoys pleasuring other pals and also humans. I'm not kidding. So, anyways, don't know whether that's real. Don't know whether that's fake. But here's the point. If there is an argument of fact, or there's a dispute of fact, that's an issue that's handled at trial. And if something would go to trial, they're more likely to settle than to go to trial. They don't want to pay the lawyers, even if they just pay them $1 million and say, go away. When you settle, you get the permanent defense against that company. So it might be worth it if they didn't pay them off to settle. I think there may have been a deal. I think there may have been a discussion. I think the lawyers may have reached out. I think that would be a very, very Japanese thing to do. Here we go. So here's another one, and this gets into the This gets into the argument about other properties. So Fatalis says, that's funny considering a large number of original Pokemon monsters are ripoffs from Dragon Quest. That will go well if they want to start that BS. Yeah, but at this point, Dragon Quest has allowed that to lapse because Dragon Quest did not do anything about it. So that's lapsed right there. Great analysis, Andrew. When talking about legal stuff, I like to quote Nick Rekieta. Anyone can sue for anything at any time. Whether they'll win or not is a whole nother story. And it's expensive to go to court. So is it worth it? This is the point. And you know, Nick isn't always right. His odds of being right are about as good as Sex Panther working, works 50% of the time, every time. But Nick is right on this one. Nick is right on this one. Now, can you sue for anything? Not really. I mean, there's things that are going to get hit on a motion to dismiss. But what you can sue over is pretty broad, especially in Japan. So when the creators were coming out and saying they cannot sue, it is impossible for them to sue. That's incorrect. That is legally incorrect, particularly under Japanese. Calhoun says Digimon versus Pokemon is very similar to Robotech versus Battletech, Gundam, etc. Lots of Japanese artists simply sell to multiple vendors. Well, that would be a defense, right? That would be a defense. If they use the same artist and it's the same style, that would be a defense. Now, mind you, Japan does not have the language that protects styles and ideas, right? We have that language in our statutes. They don't have that. They have case law, but once again, case law is on a case-by-case basis, proven at trial. So that would be something that goes to trial. But yeah, also, I hear Battletech is going super woke. I know they blocked like Razor Fist and a bunch of other people. Obviously, they canceled Blaine Pardoe, an author for supporting Trump. I need to talk to him again. I've talked to him on the CFC, the Council for Future Conflict. A very good author there. But that's all going down now. Where Battletech is getting woke, which is part of the discussion that I had with Arch and people in the chat today when I was talking about 40K, about Warhammer. They brought up Battletech, so maybe I'll have a conversation on Battletech next. Am I just becoming like the nerd law lawyer? Is this just my place on YouTube now? Have I found my niche? I don't know. Maybe I have. But anyways, they continued here. Crusader Jackson says, you do a good job breaking down this case and objectively presenting both sides, how you would defend it and also attack either side if they were to hire you. Keep up the good work. Yeah, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to tell you both sides. I tried to tell you guys how Palworld would defend and how Nintendo would attack. Ultimately, whether or not they would win at trial is different than whether or not Palworld would just settle, which they 100% would. There's no reason for that. Somebody said I need to change my name to Nerd Mindset. Oh no. Rick Dewslayer says the modder that added Pokemon models got a C&D about 7 hours after their tweet. Nintendo is watching all this closely. Yes, they are. I don't think it would work. Palworld deviating from the family-friendly Nintendo image tries to present is an ace in the hole. No, it's not. That's not a complete defense. In fact, that might actually be a damage to their case under Japanese law, because it might be a damage to their corporate brand, to their integrity, right? So under certain arguments, it could actually make it worse. There's a channel named Nerd Mindset. Yeah, it's a separate one. Weeb Mindset flows better. Weeb Mindset is pretty good. And Weeb Wednesday does happen. Panther 111 says, we nerds need to know about the law too. Yes, and as it pertains to nerds. Is this last said Lord Andrew, king of the legal nerds? Yes, absolutely. I am here for all of your manhwa, all of your manga. Bring me your broken Pokemon, your weeping pals, your crying Space Marines. I'm joking. Space Marines don't cry. Unless it's acid, because, they actually do that. Legal Nerd Set. Embrace your inner snitch. Oh, great. Appreciate that. I'm more of a corn. Blood for the blood god, Blood for the blood god. We're going with chaos, team. We're going with chaos here, Let's go all in. Why hold back? Knowing Nintendo, they'll pretty much go after anyone who uses their beloved properties, whether it's emulators or anything else. Yeah, they're very aggressive, which is why you don't sleep on Nintendo. You don't say, okay, there's no chance of it happening. No, I think it's possible. In Japanese court, do you have to refer to the judge as senpai? Yes, you have to refer to the judge as senpai in Japanese court. That's actually Japanese law. You guys didn't know that? Japanese law. You got to refer to him as senpai. If you don't refer to him as senpai, you're actually sent straight for seppuku. Examoon TV on Rumble says Palworld is essentially Pixelmon Modcraft Pokemon mod with Fortnite assets. I would argue Palworld is what the game industry calls an asset flip. Sure, but I mean, it was successful. Now, my comment on this with Palworld is I don't know whether Palworld is here to stay or whether it's a fad. Let me actually ask you guys that in the chat because I'm actually like genuinely interested in what you guys think. Like, and I'll give you three options here. So Palworld, is it genuinely popular for a long time? Just a fad? And then I'll put like you have no idea. So if you have no idea, you can answer that. So is it going to be genuinely popular for a long time, just a fad, so it's going to fade out, or do you guys have no idea? Pilgrim Media says now Governor DeSantis can give Disney his special attorney. Oh yeah, I'm ready for it, Pilgrim Media. And it's going to be great when they finally drop those charges, particularly the criminal charges. I'm going to be so happy for that. I'm going to be going on everybody's channels. I'm going to be, popping bottles. I'm going to probably do a live from the club, at that day, because it is going to be just an amazing time. So next one here, and I'll read this last one, and then I'll try to pick out some juicy hater comments after this one to round it out. But you've got here from Draco, who says, thank you for the opposing viewpoint, Andrew. It was such an interesting watch. It made me think of the likelihood of Powell losing if it goes to court, at least partially. I think there are instances of copying, but most of the collages I've seen include many idiotic ones, such as a sheep comparison. Yes, okay, guys, look, you can't claim a sheep, but you can claim a sheep if the style, if the art is substantially similar. If it's something that would be difficult or confuse the public when they look at both, it's possible. The one saying if you take design elements from 3 Pokemon, it makes a pal, comparing Relatosaurus to Quagsire, or the obvious Cheshire Cat reference being with Alolan and Meowth. They are just in the lists or collages to make it like more things are taken from Pokemon than actually might have been. But if you stick to the ones like Luxray example, people will be much more willing to listen. And there are some that are spot on. There's some that are a stretch and some that are spot on. If Game Freak or Nintendo sues, they will probably keep it limited to the obvious ones. It would be ridiculous for them to claim copyright of the round sheep or the Cheshire Cat smile. I agree. They wouldn't sue over everything. They would take the ones that aren't the biggest slam dunk. All right, let's get some unhinged ones. So these aren't much. Ryu Kaga says lots of lawyers having different opinions here. I don't know about lots of lawyers. What other lawyers? I only know of one other lawyer that's covered it. And from my understanding, our opinion doesn't necessarily conflict, especially given that the only other lawyer I know that's covered this has done it in the light of American law without using Japanese law. So probably didn't know about that. I'm using StreamYard. So yes, it's definitely what I'm using right now. Legal, while I agree there's plenty of pals that are similar to Pokemon, it seems like the similarities are mostly our color scheme. Well, is it, or is there more than color scheme? Is it color scheme and design? Did Legal do a video? Guys? Do I need to go check on the Schmeagle? Well, let's check on the Schmeagle. Are we getting eagled? I don't think he has. I think he definitely will. He's gonna probably grift off this pretty hard. I don't see why he wouldn't. I don't think he has. No, he's still talking. He's still simping for Disney and talking about Trump because he has Trump derangement syndrome. You can see that with most of his videos. Now that Trump is back, Legal is going to be focused pretty much on Trump nonstop. He's going to be simping for Disney and focusing on Trump. Whenever Trump is around, he goes nonstop off on Trump. See, right here. The guy is definitely got the TDS bad, the Legal Schmeagle. All right. Let's see here. Oh, here's a bad take. So this is from Zavara. Says, I'm no lawyer, but I highly doubt this would hold up in court. Well, thank you for your legal opinion when you're not a lawyer, but okay. I feel like a judge isn't going to understand this. First of all, it's the judge's job to understand this. If I, as a lawyer, am explaining something that a judge can't explain, there's a problem. That, especially a Japanese judge, like you're telling me a Japanese judge cannot understand Japanese IP and copyright law? Yeah, I think the judge in Japan is going to understand that, or in America or anywhere else. I think the judges are going to understand. Just because you didn't understand does not mean the judge won't, right? You might not understand, but I won't, right? So, I don't know where that comes from. Once again, I feel like this is just people's gut reaction without them actually thinking about the law and doing an analysis, right? Thank you. It's informative. I hope the Pokemon Company and Game Freak don't sue. By the way, I hope they don't sue either. I don't want them to sue. Oh, by the way, what's up to Integrity Legal Ben in the chat? I ain't no lawyer, but I play one on YouTube. That's right. That's right. What's up, Ben? So I hope they don't sue either. I don't want it to always be litigious. Just because you can sue doesn't mean you don't. People say things about people that are actionable all the time. I'll say this. I've seen some emails of, that people have sent to other people that are straight up defamatory, right? I've seen people drop things accusing others of crimes that are defamatory, and they haven't sued for those emails because it's not worth it. It's not worth it to go out there and be suing everybody, right? So I'm, right. If I, as a lawyer, let's say me as a lawyer, and I start suing all of my clients, that's not cool. That's not cool, right? You don't want to do it. There's a lot of good reasons to not sue. You also look like a petty bitch if you go around and all you're doing is suing everybody, particularly if you lose a lot of those cases. So there's reasons why people don't just go and sue left and right. There's reasons to not do it other than just, okay, I can win at court. Okay, nice, cool. Morally, practically are different things than legally, right? Do you have the ability? Do they want to open that can of worms with all similar games? Just because you sue Palworld, let's say Nintendo or Pokemon, the Pokemon Company, did sue Pocket Pair. That doesn't have to open up a can of worms. It doesn't open up anything. The same Dragon Quest question again. There would be some massive backlash. I bet there would be. You can't make your own design of a Pokemon without it being compared to another Pokemon. Well, that's not what we had here. What we didn't have like a unique design being compared to it. We had stuff that was like pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. There are games that are like Pokemon before Pokemon. That doesn't stop anything. It's not a legal argument. I doubt it. Pokemon and Palworld have different play styles. That isn't the IP analysis. The IP analysis is not solely based on gameplay style. That can be a factor. It can be a factor, but it's not something that's make or break. Pokemon and having a different gameplay style is not make or break. John Russell says, I think Nintendo would need a very favorable judge to keep it from being tossed. I think in Japan, they have a good shot without a biased judge. The AI thing is debunked. Well, I didn't know about that. If it is, I haven't seen the proof. A lot of people say stuff in the comments. And once again, guys, if you say stuff in the comments, what you should try to do is send me an article, send me proof, send me backup. But if you're dropping a comment and you're making a claim, like I had people say, oh, well, they already sued Palworld 3 times. I'm like, send me the Carfax. Over on Rumble. Oh, did I just close? Oh my God, my Rumble got closed. Oh, don't tell the Rumble people. I don't know how it happened. Don't tell Rumble. Wait a second, they can hear me because I'm live. Okay, but over there on Rumble, earlier today, someone was dropping that that there had been, apparently they said, oh, well, Pokemon has already sued Palworld 3 times. I said, DM me, send me the case, show me the Carfax, show me the Carfax. So they don't do that. I can't believe it, right? You're telling me something. What I can believe is you may be confused. You may be thinking about a different case. And then, oh, here we go. Relkun says, not a lawyer, but that I'm aware you can't copyright an art style. This rule about art style does not apply in Japan. There are certain art styles that have been found to be protected. So that does not necessarily fly in Japan. The argument about you can't copyright an art style. You would have to go to prove it at court, which is a fact-based analysis. Real quick, because we got some super chats here. Ashram K says, aren't you based in Thailand? Definitely Slaneshi. Oh, no. Hey, listen, man, we got Muay Thai. I think a cornate berserker dropping some Muay Thai kicks. Yeah, it's pretty good out there. Pretty good out there. Adam Junman says, again, who says they didn't get a license? We don't know that. Now, I do think they may have just had an agreement, right? And a lot of agreements are off the books. There's an NDA. There's an agreement, right? They may have had it signed, and witnessed by some Yakuza. Who knows what went on? Once again, we don't know. They may have bonded over at a hostess bar. They may have gone to a cat girl hostess bar and bonded over some good Japanese whiskey, some sake bombs, and agreed to something. We don't know what type of deals they had. That's true. We have no clue. Could be just a gentleman's agreement. My mod Don Vaca in the chat real quick. This is actually really funny. He said Slaneshi can be cured with penicillin, right? Oh boy. There's no penicillin for Slaneshi. Is this live? Says hell. Your chat calls you defamatory things all the time. Hell yeah, you guys call me very defamatory things all the time. I mean, Don Baca, essentially implying that I have some Slaneshi venereal disease. That is definitely actionable. Guys, in case you want a quick breakdown on defamation, 2 things apply across the globe. Never accuse somebody of committing a crime they are not convicted of. Right? So unless somebody's been convicted of a crime and for sure they were convicted of it, never say that in public, period. And number 2, never accuse somebody of having an STD. That is also actionable. There's a couple famous cases about that. It's what a prima facie evidence for defamation. I forget, was it Cardi B who actually went it was a YouTuber who I think accused Cardi B of having an STD, and she literally went and got the STD test, submitted it to court, and was like, pay me. And girl had to pay her. I think it was Cardi B. Pretty sure. Danielle says yes. So I believe Danielle. She's on top of it. Oh, God. Okay. Henry K says, imagine instead of Nintendo suing them, they do a crossover event. Yeah, and they could. And maybe they have a deal where Nintendo is going to have an official mod that comes out for Palworld from Nintendo, and Nintendo can make money on it. Maybe that's the gentleman's agreement, guys. We don't know that. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. 2 Japanese companies wanting each other to make money. Win-win. That's a win-win right there. Changer of the Ways says, just be chaos, undivided warp bearer. Give us the primordial truth. Keep your options open. Hey, listen, always got to keep your options open. Always got to keep your options open. That's what the word alleged is for. Yes, definitely you need to use the word alleged. Like they're accused of this. Alleged is there potential? Yeah. Be very careful. Very careful. All right. Here's one more, and I'm going to get to just a couple of these, and then we're going to wrap this. USS Cushing says, honestly, I don't see how Nintendo cannot win this given at first glance, but I thought it's very strange for Pokemon, the game, to suddenly have guns. Because that's what you thought at first glance is, oh, this is Pokemon with guns. And that's one of the metrics that would be used is would a average viewer confuse the brand? That's very possible. Brand confusion is huge for trademark. This is it. This is a good one here. And I'll just read the first part. The sad thing about it is they don't even need to win. Just tie them up to court until they bankrupt the company. I don't think they're going to bankrupt Pocket Pair. I think people would back up Pocket Pair if they tried to bankrupt them. And the truly sad thing is this will only create bad blood for Nintendo. Instead, they should give Palworld its kudos and say, touche, and actually innovate Pokemon. Nintendo and by extension Game Freak have been resting on their laurels for too long. Part of the reason why it's so popular is because the young generation, second and third generation Pokemon players have grown up wanting a more robust experience. Palworld is the Pokemon game they've been wanting that Nintendo, for whatever reason, has decided not to make. And I think that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the best arguments there for Nintendo kind of changing and coming around is, look, they're not delivering what people want. And I get why people are frustrated. As an OG Pokemon fan, it's really disappointing to see that they've given up and literally the only thing they do is come up with lame new generations, which aren't even that innovative and don't even really look that cool anymore. Right. And a lot of times they've just shifted to variants, to regional variants, which is the laziest thing ever, which is the absolute laziest thing ever when they're just talking about regional variants. Okay. So I was going to stop there, but we've got this CFTOD meeting going on right now. And it's actually live right now on YouTube. Right, these guys are live streaming, and I was scrolling back here to see if a certain homeboy showed up. Well, look at it. We've got the Disney Defender guy here, right? So I think we want to chomp into some of these. We've also got Debbie here. I think we want to go back and I think we want to watch this because if you guys haven't watched these CFTOD meetings, they are excellent when it comes to the public comments and just trolling these people in the public comments. So guys, smash the like button on this and we're going to check out this live meeting. This is of course the Disney meeting, or rather the CFTOD, which is the district which oversees Disney. So we're going to go here and I'm going to watch this with you guys because this does promise to be very interesting. And I'll try to cut this out. I'll maybe try to create a clip here so you guys can have a better understanding. And I am going to boost the volume, so please mind your ears. So let's check out some deranged Disney lunacy here on The Legal Mindset.
Or here maybe for the first time, please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Debbie McDonald.
Okay, here we go.
1 second, that came up fast. I thought I was number 12. I see on the agenda you have the proclamation
Here we go,
of the
guys.
American Cancer Society and the Relay for Life, which is one of my favorite things in the world.
Oh, she's being positive. Okay.
For people that are going through what they are. I wanted to share a story today about a little girl named Annabelle. On January 4th, Sophie and Blake took their daughter to Epcot to see Anna and Elsa. She was a huge part of their daughter's life.
This is public. By the way, guys, this is a meeting, the CFTOD. Anybody can come up and comment. So you can have anybody, including people that are deranged, have off-topic comments coming up to comment during public comment. So these have been really entertaining because a lot of the Disney stands and Disney shills have been getting up here and they've been saying some ridiculous stuff. It seems like she may be saying something real here, and if she is, then big props to Debbie on that. But we'll see.
Annabelle had been struggling with Down syndrome and deafness since birth, and her leukemia had come back. Although the queue to see the princesses in Norway was very long, Anna and Elsa, the Disney cast members, shut it down and shared a special time
You're damn right,
with
Ben.
Annabelle as whispers went down the long line of guests. And they all immediately understood that this was important. As they said goodbye to the sweet girl, Elsa pulled the mom in and whispered, thanking the parents
I agree.
for letting her love them and letting them love on Annabelle in return. That's what cast members do without hesitation or pause. They give magic. Whatever you are envisioning Disney to be, it is not. What you are fighting is simply wrong. I ask you again to look at the joy and the love these cast members give every day without hesitation, and stop your fight with Reedy Creek and Disney and our surrounding communities. 9 days after the Disney cast members Elsa and Anna made a special memory for Annabelle, on January 13th, 2024, just 11 days ago, at the sweet age of 7, Annabelle left this earth, and her beloved family began planning her memorial service. The song her daddy chose to accompany.
So let me make sure. Let me pull a setting. If she's just talking about this, then that's really not so much relevant. Okay, so that's sad, not a fight. Okay, yeah, she's just talking about that issue. All right, let me get to the Disney guy. Here he is. Okay, let's get to this guy. This guy is always good. Here we go. Okay, the Disney Defender guy. We all know this guy. Here we go.
Thank you.
This guy, biggest Billy the Beta male out there. This guy is always a toot. Let's listen up to this guy.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I also want to thank Debbie for sharing that amazingly heartwarming story. And our prayers go out to that family.
I mean, it's a sad story. I think that story was related to them sponsoring an event. So, I mean, if they're sponsoring a charity, that's great. That's their prerogative, though, right? And I don't even think they're sponsoring a charity. I think they're just allowing the run. They're just permitting the run. So, good on them for that. But not really a problem. Just a charity event that's probably using the roads.
As has become a tradition, I have some documents to present to the board.
This is the guy who thinks he's cute because he presented pink slips to the board, and now it's like 3 months later, so he's like being a weirdo.
Would appreciate if they could be passed out, but
this guy is so fucking weird. It makes me uncomfortable.
I'll describe them anyways. So my name is.
I love how he's like getting despondent about it now. Like he's getting a little despondent. Leprechaun Gold says, "Is it illegal to lie? Gonna catch all the Pokemon?" No, it's not. It's illegal to commit perjury. So if you commit perjury, yeah, that's illegal if you're under oath.
Chris Wills. I'm here on behalf of Disney Defenders, which is the political action committee that is working.
I love how they make it literally the Disney Defenders is a public action public action committee, and they've intentionally allied with all Democrats. This guy is like one of the worst things for Disney because he makes Disney political by openly allying with all of the Democratic politicians. It's actually really great.
To amend Florida's constitution to restore Reedy Creek and to prohibit political retaliation. And thank you for passing those out. I appreciate it.
So this guy, his little motion that Linda Stewart put up, his troll mother put up. I don't know if you've seen Linda Stewart, but she looks like a troll. It got shot down. It got shot down because it didn't even follow the basic rules for legislation. So yeah, this whole movement that he's been trying to go behind, it was completely shot down. Is going to go nowhere. So this guy is spinning his wheels, and he is going to really be crying in his ham sandwich for the next year.
I'm here before you to discuss the two documents that are being handed out to you all. The first reason for me coming before you all, I did present 5. I'm sorry, I don't know why. Yeah. Anyways, the first document is related to what everybody across the state of Florida is talking about, which is our governor exiting the presidential campaign.
So this shows you this guy has nothing and knows nothing about what's going on here, the legal issues. The legal issues have nothing to do with the political campaign. But people who are high on their own supply, particularly the Disney supply, they believe this narrative of it being something political, of it being tied to the political campaign. Has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that at all. It has to do with Florida law. It's a basic thing under Florida law. So this is where homeboy here is really messing up.
And why that's pertinent to this board is because, as
buddy?
you'll see in the first document that I presented to you all, in the aggregate of polling, Governor DeSantis's polling numbers began a precipitous drop literally the day he signed the law that created this board and retaliated against Disney.
That's very funny, because the thing is, look, DeSantis, he dropped not because of Disney. Most people agree on the Disney issue. They agree Disney is a woke corporation. I think that's a horrible argument. The reason DeSantis failed is because DeSantis wasn't a likable candidate. He didn't have popular positions. He's running against Trump. That's what happened here. DeSantis had a lot of goodwill when he was perceived as a pro-Trump, sort of like a Vivek-like figure. When he went after Trump is when it stopped. Go look at that. That's the bigger drop. The bigger drop is when he decided to go after Trump. Once again, it's trying to draw a correlation where it's not there. It's not there.
And I think it's important for Governor DeSantis and everybody on this board to recognize that the American public and certainly Floridians across the state are disgusted with what has happened over the past year. And they're very...
That's not true at all. In fact, most Floridians, when you poll them, particularly the ones that have been paying attention, the ones that are educated on this issue, would have a problem with Disney, have a problem with what Disney is doing. But beyond that, if you actually educate people on the issue and you inform them about what Reedy Creek is and what it does, they would say, yeah, there's no way in hell that they should have a district like this. There's no way in hell it should be unregulated, that they should be allowed to do whatever they want, right? Most people, when they get educated on this issue, they quickly come around to Disney is in the wrong here. Disney is literally committing crimes. I was speaking to Arch. Arch is over there in Scandinavia this morning. He read the audit and he straight up said they committed crimes. Reading through the audit, he's like, they committed crimes. Allegedly. See that? See how I did that? See how I did that? Once they're filed, they've got some prima facie evidence there because they've already filed the evidence. They've already filed the backup. Kelvin says, I need his level of copium. I'd be invincible. Also, what poll? His poll outside of Walmart? Oh, no.
We're concerned about the precedent that's being set for political retaliation.
The precedent?
I do want to report, and that's for the members of the press, that Governor DeSantis has been very successful in one thing, and that's rewriting history. He has changed the narrative because we are coming across a lot of Floridians that believe that he has won in this issue when there is a...
Yes, he already has won. So that's factually true. Like what is not true? Like he's already done the thing. And once again, it's not against Disney, it's against the district, but it's already done. It's done. Disney has to undo it, which isn't going to happen.
A federal lawsuit, a state lawsuit pending, but he continues to repeat that he beat Disney. This is long but over, especially before we, the citizens.
Well, it's only being dragged out because Disney is dragging it out and delaying, right? Disney is dragging out and delaying.
Of the United States and the state of Florida have our say when we amend the Constitution. And then lastly, I wanted to present to you all, I know that you all went through a process to rebrand Reedy Creek, as you have the map up there. Oh, you did change it to Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, but
because that's the legal name of the district now, idiot. They're supposed to be transitioning it over the year. That's what they're legally required to do. If you knew the law, if you read the law, if you knew anything about the law, you know they are required to transition everything from Reedy Creek to Central Florida Tourism District. This is what winding down is. Now they're allowed to temporarily use that name, but they have to start transitioning things over from Reedy Creek to CFTOD. Particularly if they make anything new, they have to make it CFTOD. This retard doesn't understand the law. He hasn't read any of it. And by that, I don't mean he's actually challenged. I mean, he is pixie dust challenged. Okay.
What it has come to symbolize to so many here in Florida and across the country is what we put together in this new logo for you all, right? So you all designed that logo.
Oh my God. This guy, how much has this guy paid in graphics? And is Disney paying for these? Okay, hold on. Let's see the previous poll in the chat. Okay, so the previous poll in the chat, 38% of you had no idea about Palworld. 30% think it'll be genuinely popular, and 31% will be just a fad. So most of you had no idea, but between those that voted, a little tiny amount more think it's just a fad. Okay. New poll in the chat though. Is Disney paying for these graphics? So is Disney paying for this dude's graphics budget? Put this way. It's yes or no question. Is Disney paying for this? Because this man is passing out a lot of materials. He's passing out a whole lot of materials. Let's play this.
That this should be adopted as your new logo, and that the board should go by the corrupt failure tyrannical overreach district, because that is what we are hearing
This is just a
from
meme
Floridians. And
really, you're hearing that from Floridians? You're hearing that from Floridians? Which Floridians? Your mom in your basement? Like, I want to see the size of this guy's mom's basement. Must be pretty big.
why it's urgent that everyone go online to DisneyDefenders.com, sign our petitions so that we can undo this.
You're so retarded.
And we can get back to this district being run in the spectacular way that it was run.
Spectacular way it was run. Spectacular way it was run. Patently violating IRS regulations, SEC, like patently violating state law, federal. The excellent way it was run, on its face, doing something that was corrupt. Even Disney admitted that what they were doing with the benefits, with the taxable benefits for the Disney cruises and the hotels and stuff, even they admitted that was wrong, and they were going to do something about it eventually. Are you kidding me? Excellent way it was being run? Wow. How does that Mickey butt plug feel? Must be nice for him.
Prior to this chaos and corruption. So thank you very much.
Okay, cool.
Oh gosh. Okay, so that was all for public comment. That was the public comment period for the day. As always, very lively when you get some of these people involved, but I will continue to review these public comment periods. If there's something on the agenda, because guys, I have worked for special districts. I have been in hundreds of meetings, if not almost, probably over 1,000 actually. I would say I've been over 1,000 of these special districts meetings. I know when I read an agenda, if it's going to be boring. If it's going to be boring, we're not going to watch the entire thing. I'm not going to say, hey, let's tune in. If it's exciting, we will watch the entire thing. But if it's even a boring meeting, I do want to skim the public comment period in case this guy gets up or somebody else gets up and says something of note. So that said, very interesting public comment period. Guys, smash the like button if you like this. Leave a comment below on what you liked about this episode. Did you like the BLM part? Did you like the Palworld or the Pokemon argument? Did you like me ranking on the Disney Defender? Do you like everything? Let me know in the comments. Smash a like. I will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure whether it will be in the evening. So now it's morning for you guys. Will it be your evening or will it be the next day? So stay tuned for that. It'll be one or the other. Not both, but one or the other. Otherwise, guys, stay tuned. Take care, and I will catch you later.